look, Oregon is just going to be one of these teams, and there's a lot of them now. We're in this era, as we just mentioned. This is, as Rob said, the transfer era, where you're going to lose so much talent. And you normally in the past, when you lose as much talent as Oregon has, that there's just no way that they're going to be able to compete this year anywhere close to the way that they were last year. It's still going to be hard, though. There's just no question about it. It's still going to be hard. Doesn't mean you can't do it. And the key is going to be Dante Moore or Novosad. I mean, if they can develop one of those young quarterbacks right away and they come out and all of a sudden you realize that in 2 years they're going to be a first-round draft pick, then this team will definitely have and has enough talent to be a playoff team and to maybe do a little bit more damage than you saw last year. Sometimes that works that way too. You think you've got the really big-time veteran team this year, and this is our year. The next year, you've got all these young guys, new guys, and the expectations aren't as high. And then, boom, all of a sudden, you find yourself in the semifinals or the championship game of the college football championship game. All right, so there you go. As far as the Big Ten, though, look, Ohio State's in the same boat as Oregon. Same boat. So I think I don't think we have any idea what to expect from both these teams. I think just because of who they are, we expect them to be there, and maybe they will. But they both have young, unproven quarterbacks, so we really don't know. That's why Penn State really should be the favorite in the Big Ten. And they've got not only a quarterback that could be the first overall pick of the draft, they have the two big running backs returning. They're now even better at receiver. Their offensive line is returning. So they haven't really needed, except for receiver, they really haven't needed to bring in all this influx of relying on freshmen or transfers. And this was a team that was right there at the end, semifinals, that close to a championship. So I think it would be very disappointing. And I don't know if I could see it. I don't know if I can see, James Franklin would have a lot to answer for if he can't get Penn State to the national championship game this year. Then you've got a Michigan team that struggled big time on offense. It's all up to their freshman quarterback, Bryce Underwood. They're going to be better than people think. But maybe this is just a sign right there that they're the fourth choice. That, you know what, keep an eye on Michigan. And by the way, I will be talking with Anthony Broom, speaking of Michigan, later on tonight, 8 o'clock Eastern. We get an opportunity to find out what's going on with the Wolverines. So I'm looking forward to that. As you can see right there behind my shoulder. You probably see the other one behind my shoulder there, not on the small screen. But yeah, I have a little bit of a alliance difference, but that's because I'm a New Jersey native who grew up a Michigan fan. All right, so there you go. As far as any potential sleepers in the Big Ten, Illinois is going to be strong. So they're going to be good. USC, they've got talent, but man, I don't know. I really don't. I kind of think USC's best chance might be if that young kid actually takes over a quarterback instead of Maeva, because I don't know if Maeva has another gear. I just don't. And if he doesn't have another gear, I just don't know if USC does anything special. Iowa, they've got a better offense. We know that. I even think their defense is better. So I think they'll be a better team this year. But it's Iowa. They just don't have any big-time skill position players. So I think it's very difficult to compete with the big boys. Indiana, they've got that same schedule. It's the same thing. I mean, they've got good players at every level. They're going to win a lot of games because they've got good players at every level, but they don't have a lot of great players. They do have on each position on defense. They do have a good top guy, but for the most part, especially on offense, there's just no guys. There's just no players where you go, wow. We're in trouble here. This is a guy that we have to really, especially when they do step up like they did last year and play some of the top teams. I just don't think that's it's going to change. I really don't. Nebraska should be better. We know that. I think next year is the year, though, Nebraska is going to compete for the championship of this conference. Not this year, but this year, take the next step, especially a quarterback. We know they've got one of the better young quarterbacks in the conference. Washington is going to be a lot better than last year. They have a stud young quarterback. Their offense is going to be dynamic. Jonah Coleman knows how to run. So this offense is going to be as good as any offense in the Big Ten in my mind. It's the defense I'm a little bit concerned with, but they are going to be good. Okay. They're not going to be where they were a couple of years ago, but they are going to be a lot better than last year. Minnesota is going to take a step down. They lost their quarterback, who was a nice pickup from the FCS, Brosmer. But they have a good running game, and they're good coaching staff, Fleck. So they're going to be fine. But I don't think they'll be as dangerous as last year. Michigan State would be a lot better. Absolutely. Michigan State would be a lot better. Once again, you're relying on a young quarterback to take that next step in Childs, but that's what you need to see happen if you're a Michigan State fan. That's why he's there. That's what the excitement is about the kid. They've got a world-class receiver as well, and the kid Marsh. So yes, Michigan State is going to be a better team. Jonathan Smith knows what he's doing, but still another year or two away. Maybe by time Childs is in his final year, a couple of years from now, unless he just explodes this year, I'm not sure that's going to happen. Then maybe that's a team to keep an eye on. And then, you get into the recruiting classes and so forth. And I still think Michigan State's a few years away. I think Wisconsin's in a lot of trouble. I think this might be it for the staff. And it's very disappointing. You didn't expect it. I think there was a lot of excitement there with Fickle coming in. But it was a terrible decision to decide that we're going to start throwing the ball all over the place. That's what Nebraska did. And look how long it's taken Nebraska to kind of get back going again. And that's what Wisconsin tried. And just stick with what works. This is the Big Ten. Okay. You're not, I'm sorry. I know that there's a lot of teams out there nowadays that chuck the ball and want to play air raid, but you can't do that at Wisconsin. Why would you even think of doing it at Wisconsin? When I see that their best offensive lineman is a transfer from Central Michigan or something like that. And I'm not saying the kid's not a good player, but Wisconsin needs to bring in transfer offensive linemen from Central Michigan, Wisconsin. So, I mean, that's when they got problems. I think that might be it for Fickle. Look, I know they've had injury problems at quarterback. I get that, but it hasn't been good. UCLA is going to have a down year just because they just lost too many key players, and they were that close from being really relevant. They won some big games at the end of the season. They really got hot. They got such a bad start. Took too long for them to get going. But as soon as they clicked, they really became a dangerous team. They just couldn't finish the deal against USC, and that's the one that killed them. And then, of course, they lose Gabers, and that's going to be, I think, a significant loss, at least for this year. And Schlesinger at linebacker, that stud edge rusher. So Rutgers, my hometown team, will be a lot better. Now, the question is the schedule. They have one of the tougher schedules in the conference. That's the only thing that will prevent them. There's two things that will prevent Rutgers from not going bowling: the schedule and injuries. And I will say this: if they do not have the rash of injuries they had last year on defense, and even the running back, Manungai, got banged up a little bit towards the end, as long as they are relatively healthy, and I'm not talking about they need to be squeaky clean healthy, just not a rash of injuries, they're going to be a lot better than people think. That offense came on really strong last year. They've got the best quarterback that they've had there in a long time. They can go 3 deep as far as electrifying talent at receiver. This is the best offense they've had there without question since Greg Schiano was there the first time. So, and the defense is going to be fine. Yes, they lost some key players, but overall, this is going to be a good football team this year. They're going to be competitive, and I think this is the year that they are going to break through and win a big game. I don't know who it is, and it could just be Iowa. Could be. I don't know if I'm going to go crazy and say Ohio State or Penn State, but I think they're going to win that next big game in their maturation. And maybe it is Iowa. Maybe that's the team they have to beat in order to do that, because that is their home game early in the season. Northwestern's going to be better, especially if Preston Stone delivers. I mean, since when has Northwestern had a Preston Stone at quarterback? So, look, Braun has done an excellent job there. Very underrated coach. So they're going to be better. They did not have a good year last year, but still, they're competitive. They can, especially as a dog, love them as a dog. I mean, I think they have won 9 games under Braun as a dog in the 2 years. I mean, that's incredible. So watch out for Northwestern. They're going to win a couple more, 2, 3, 4 more as dogs this year. So I'll pick them. I know that. Hopefully I'll pick them at the right time. Maryland, nah, they're going to go back to a freshman. And look, who knows if this kid is going to deliver? Anybody's guess. There's so many other young quarterbacks in this conference that I think, have a better shot to deliver. But if the kid, produces as a true freshman, then okay, then Maryland, maybe they could be a bowl team. But they're just, I don't know. Loxley's good for the program because he can recruit. And if you recruit in that area, you can be competitive like he has been. But they're not winning any championships with Loxley. So that's what Maryland has got to say to themselves. Do we want to bring in a coach at some point and have bigger aspirations? Or are we just, satisfied by having a coach that is a real good recruiter and that we go to bowls just about every year? Well, that's up to them. And Purdue, Odom, look, nice story at UNLV. I hope he turns it around at Purdue, but it ain't happening this season. Okay, so that is the Big Ten, and I just want to wrap up here with Oregon's numbers. They are the seventh choice at 12-1 right now for the championship, and they are also, as far as the Big Ten overall, I think, what are they? They are the third choice, as I mentioned before. Oh, and the win total, I don't know where it is on here. It might take me too long to find it. Because they don't do it in alphabetical order, unfortunately, here. I don't know why, but they don't. But here's the win total, 10.5. That's pretty high. Taking a look at the schedule for Oregon. Let's pop it up. Let's move it in. Okay, so for the schedule for Oregon, we've got right there early on. You shouldn't see any trouble, but you do have two programs. And I say three. All three of those teams, Oklahoma State, Northwestern, and Oregon State, are going to be better than last year. Okay, there's that. And remember, as Rob said, it did take him a little bit. Even FCS opponent last year was a little bit too tight. And that was a veteran team. So watch out. Now, I'm not talking about Montana State, mind you, but just, keep an eye on Oklahoma State, Northwestern, and rival Oregon State. Because the Oregon State game, interesting enough, is just before the Penn State game on the road. That's kind of surprising. I don't know. Maybe Oregon State will use that to their advantage psychologically. Like, hey, I don't think enough of us. They're just going to play us just before they got to go play Penn State. But I'd watch out for one of these three games, and especially Northwestern, because this one is away on the road. So I would watch out for one of those games to be closer than people think. But there you go. They should be undefeated when they play Penn State. It's on the road. I think Penn State will beat Oregon just because, as I said, I just think Penn State's in a much better position with their team. They're basically a better version of when they were last year when these two teams faced off in the Big Ten championship game. I mean, obviously, you lose your big edge rusher, top 5 draft pick edge rusher in Carter. We get that. But again, it's like Oregon lost like 10 of those guys. Okay. Indiana, I don't think that'll be a problem. But again, when you're at home or you're in a situation like Oregon is and you've got a young quarterback, I do think there'll be other games, whether it's Indiana at home, Rutgers on the road. I don't know about Wisconsin, Iowa on the road, that one of those games, I think they might be, it's going to be a close game. Let's just put it that way. One of those games, maybe two of them, will be closer than you would expect. Question is, will they be able to come up with the big plays, the big time? And that's where we talk about the young quarterbacks, whether or not they can take that next step. USC, we have no idea how good USC will be by the time they play here. I think there's a chance for USC to be a lot better. Well, we'll know by then. Washington, as I said, on the road, that one will be dangerous. And that wraps it up. So really taking a look at the schedule, avoiding Ohio State is big. So even if they lose to Penn State, so here's the deal when you're 10.5. You can't lose 2 games. So let's just give Oregon the loss to Penn State, all right? Because they're going to be an underdog. So let's say they lose. They're going to be favored in every other game, okay? But they have to run the table and cannot lose another game. So I can't do that. I can't do Oregon over 10.5, 11 wins. I just can't. I'm looking at Oregon as more of a 9-win team. So not even 10, but I think they're a 9-win team this year. That doesn't mean that they can't get to the playoffs. I think a lot is going to depend. I think I will say this, if they win 9 games, I don't think they will be in the playoffs. I think they have to win 10 games to be in the playoffs with this schedule. Okay. Unless 3 or 4 of the teams on the schedule are a lot better than people think in the preseason, and so their games will be that much bigger, and it will, okay, a tough schedule. Okay. But because it doesn't look like a tough schedule early on, I can't imagine if they are a 9-win team that they would make it to the postseason. I think there's just too much talent out there, especially this year in the SEC. And I'm not an SEC guy, obviously. I still think at the top of the Big Ten can compete right up at the top of the SEC. Mano a mano, I still think so. But overall, the SEC is just a lot better this year, depth-wise. I mean, I think you can go all the way down. I think you can go 12, 13 deep of teams that can, if everything went right, could be a playoff team. That's how deep the SEC is this year. You can't say that about the Big Ten this year. It's just a fact. And again, a lot of it is going to depend on Oregon and Ohio State more than anything, is whether or not, with all of the losses that those 2 programs have endured, can the transfers, and especially those young quarterbacks, can they come in and just develop right away? And what about Underwood in Michigan, if he develops right away? So, because he's a true freshman. Okay, so Moore and Sagan, they've had a tiny bit of a time, but Underwood's coming fresh in. So, but he's starting for a reason. I know he hasn't been given the starting job yet, but I think everybody would be surprised, and it would be a big disappointment if he didn't start. I know they got the kid Keene from Fresno State as a backup, a veteran backup with a ton of experience, but Michigan does not want to go that route. If they go that route, that means Underwood is not developed as planned. And I just think that would be a big, not like last year disaster, because the quarterback situation, it was just so bad. It was really, I've never seen anything like it. And yet they still found a way to beat Ohio State and beat Alabama in a bowl game. And that was with what? Davis Warren, a walk-on.